I wasn't born in this country. I didn't grow up in any one particular religion. I have a mixed-race background, and I'm gay.
The golden age of Hollywood was full of scandals, but some secrets stayed buried for decades. What if I told you that some of the biggest black icons of the silver screen lived double lives? You won't believe who's on this list. Number 20, Butterfly McQueen. Did you know one of Gone with the Wind's most famous stars had a secret that Hollywood never wanted you to know? Butterfly McQueen, known for her high-pitched, unforgettable voice, lived a life far more mysterious than the characters she played. Butterfly McQueen rose to fame in 1939 as Prissy, the fast-talking housemaid in Gone with the Wind. But while her performance became legendary, her real life was filled with struggles, secrets, and silent rebellions. Unlike many actresses of her time, McQueen was outspoken, often challenging racial stereotypes in Hollywood. However, when it came to her love life, she remained fiercely private. Rumors around McQueen's romantic relationship with women followed her throughout her life, though she never publicly confirmed them. Some close friends believe she kept her sexuality hidden to protect her career. During the 1940s, Hollywood had no room for black actresses, let alone ones who defied traditional norms. Beyond acting, McQueen was an intellectual and an activist. She rejected religion openly, a rare stance in those times, and she often voiced her opinions on race and gender equality. She once said, "I didn't mind playing a maid the first time, but after that, I resented it." McQueen was a licensed pilot. Few people know that she pursued aviation, proving she wasn't just a Hollywood actress, but a woman ahead of her time. Number 19, Teresa Harris. She starred alongside Hollywood's biggest names, but behind the scenes, she fought a battle that few ever knew about. Teresa Harris wasn't just an actress, she was a trailblazer who refused to be typecast, yet her most intriguing secret remained hidden. Teresa Harris appeared in over 80 films, often playing maids, background characters. But she was far more than just a background figure. Unlike most black actresses of her era, she was stunning, charismatic, and capable of leading roles, yet Hollywood refused to let her shine in them. Why? During the 1930s, black women in Hollywood had few choices: play a maid or leave the industry. But Harris, well, she pushed back against these limitations. She once starred opposite Bette Davis in Jezebel, 1938, a film where her performance was so compelling, many critics believed she should have had a leading role. But there was another Hollywood secret she had to keep: her rumored relationships with women. During her time, being openly bisexual could end a career instantly, so Harris kept her personal life out of the spotlight. Some reporters claim she had romantic connections with female co-stars, but never openly acknowledged them. Teresa Harris was one of the first black actresses to demand credit for her roles. Unlike others who were left uncredited, she made sure audiences knew her name. Number 18, Mae McKinney. She was called the Black Garbo, a title that promised superstardom, but behind the dazzling smile, Mae McKinney had secrets Hollywood never wanted exposed. Her beauty, talent, and charm made her one of the first black actresses to break into international fame. McKinney exploded onto the scene in 1929 with her groundbreaking role in Hallelujah, one of the first all-black films backed by a major studio. She was a powerhouse, a stunning, charismatic actress who could sing, dance, and captivate audiences like no other. MGM even signed her to a contract, a first for a black actress at the time. But despite her incredible talent, Hollywood refused to give her the roles she deserved. When Hollywood failed her, McKinney turned to Europe, where she found success in London and Paris. While overseas, she was rumored to have had romantic relationships with both men and women, a fact that was conveniently erased from most Hollywood history books. She had affairs with European socialites, actors, and even other female entertainers, but because of racial and industry pressures, she never publicly acknowledged her sexuality. By the 1940s, she had largely disappeared from Hollywood, though her impact on black actresses was undeniable. Stars like Dorothy Dandridge and Lena Horne followed in her footsteps, but McKinney never received the credit she deserved. Mae McKinney was one of the first black actresses to appear on European television. While Hollywood sidelined her, she made history overseas. Number 17, Juano Hernandez. He was one of the first black men to play dignified, non-stereotypical roles in Hollywood. But Juano Hernandez's legacy has far more layers than most people know. He shattered racial barriers, but he also kept a part of his life hidden from public view. Born in Puerto Rico, Hernandez started as a circus acrobat and radio actor before making his way into Hollywood. In 1949, he stunned audiences with his role in Intruder in the Dust, playing a wrongly accused black man in one of the first films to challenge racial injustice on screen. His performance was so powerful that it earned him widespread critical acclaim. But while Hollywood respected his talent, Hernandez had his own secrets. Throughout his life, there were rumors of discreet same-sex relationships, though little documentation exists. Close friends in the industry hinted that he lived a private double life, carefully navigating Hollywood's conservative culture. At a time when being openly bisexual could end a career overnight, he chose silence. Unlike many black actors, Hernandez never played subservient roles. He was a serious actor, respected among Hollywood's elite, and he ensured his characters had dignity. But even with all his success, he still had to fight for equal opportunities in the industry. Hernandez was nominated for a BAFTA award decades before Hollywood even considered honoring black actors. He was truly ahead of his time. Number 16, Louise Beavers. She played loving housekeepers and motherly figures on screen, but Hollywood never let her be anything more. What they never told you? Louise Beavers had a life far more complex than the roles she was forced to play. Beavers became famous for playing warm, nurturing characters in films like Imitation of Life, 1934. Her performance was so iconic that she became one of the most recognized black actresses of the 1930s and 1940s. But despite her talent, she was constantly typecast, trapped in the role of a maid. But off-screen, Beavers had another battle to fight. She lived in a deeply conservative era, and there were persistent whispers about her private life, specifically her romantic relationships with women. Some industry insiders believe that Beavers had long-term relationships with female partners, though she never confirmed it publicly. Despite these reactions, Beavers remained one of the highest-paid black actresses of her time. However, she knew that if she spoke out about racial discrimination on her personal life, Hollywood could blacklist her overnight. So she remained silent, sacrificing her personal happiness to maintain her career. Beavers was one of the first black actresses to star in a television show, breaking new ground before Hollywood was ready to acknowledge her contributions. Number 15, Hattie McDaniel. She made history as the first black person to win an Oscar, but Hattie McDaniel's personal life was full of secrets Hollywood refused to acknowledge. Behind her groundbreaking success, she lived a life filled with heartbreak, hidden relationships, and quiet rebellion. McDaniel won her Academy Award for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, 1939, but her acceptance speech was bittersweet. She was forced to sit in a segregated table during the ceremony, and despite her win, Hollywood still refused to offer her serious roles. But her struggles weren't just professional, they were personal too. While publicly married to men, McDaniel was rumored to have had romantic relationships with women in her inner circle. According to some accounts, she had a deep bond with certain female companions, but given the racial and social climate of the time, she never spoke about it publicly. Despite the challenges, McDaniel never stopped pushing for change. She became an advocate for black actors in Hollywood and even fought to desegregate her neighborhood in Los Angeles. However, Hollywood continued to limit her roles to maids and caretakers, never fully recognizing her potential. McDaniel was a professional singer before she became an actress. She recorded music and even performed in clubs before Hollywood came calling. Number 14, Canada Lee. He was a Hollywood rebel, a brilliant actor, and a man who refused to be typecast. But what few people know? Canada Lee's off-screen life was just as dramatic as his roles. Lee's breakout role in Lifeboat, 1944, made him one of the first black actors to play a complex, non-stereotypical character in a major Hollywood film. He later starred in Cry, the Beloved Country, 1951, further cementing his place as a serious, respected actor. But behind the scenes, he was a man surrounded by rumors about his politics, his activism, and his personal life. Lee was a fearless civil rights advocate, which made him an enemy of Hollywood's powerful elites. The FBI blacklisted him during the Red Scare, and suddenly his career was over. But that wasn't the only reason he was considered controversial. There were whispers about his relationships with men, particularly within artistic and activist circles. Some believed that Lee had romantic connections with male actors and intellectuals, though he kept his personal life private. His mysterious, untold love life is one of Hollywood's great secrets. Canada Lee almost played Othello on Broadway, but the role went to Orson Welles instead, one of the many missed opportunities in his career. Number 13, Fredi Washington. She was drop-dead gorgeous, a Hollywood icon ahead of her time, and a woman with a secret the world refused to accept. Fredi Washington was talented, fearless, and deeply misunderstood. Best known for Imitation of Life, 1934, Washington played a mixed-race woman who passes as white, a storyline shockingly close to her real life. With her light skin and striking green eyes, many in Hollywood pressured her to pass as white to get better roles. She refused, proudly embracing her black identity despite the cost. But there was another side to her story. Washington was rumored to have had romantic relationships with both men and women throughout her life. Some sources suggest she had deep, long-lasting connections with women in the entertainment world, though she never spoke about it publicly. She left Hollywood early, frustrated with the lack of meaningful roles for black actresses. Instead, she became an activist, fighting for black performers to be seen and heard. While Hollywood wanted to erase her, she ensured her impact would never be forgotten. Fredi Washington helped form the Negro Actors Guild of America, fighting for black activists' rights in an industry that constantly tried to silence them. Number 12, Paul Robeson. He was a Hollywood leading man, a legendary singer, and one of the most powerful black figures in history. But Paul Robeson's most controversial secrets were carefully erased from the public eye. Robeson wasn't just an actor, he was a Renaissance man, a former lawyer, an athlete, a singer, and a political activist. He became famous for his role in The Emperor Jones, 1933, and the film adaptation of Showboat, 1936. His booming voice and commanding presence made him a global icon. But behind the fame, Robeson had secrets that Hollywood worked hard to suppress. Though he was married to Islanda Goad Robeson, rumors of his affairs with both men and women followed him throughout his life. Some historians suggest that he had relationships with male writers, artists, and activists, but he never publicly addressed the speculation. His political activism also made him a target. The U.S. government labeled him a communist sympathizer, revoked his passport, and blacklisted him from Hollywood. His career was destroyed, not just for his politics, but also for the personal secrets that powerful people didn't want the world to know. Paul Robeson was fluent in over 20 languages and performed worldwide, proving his talent and intellect went far beyond Hollywood. Number 11, Robert Earl Jones. Before James Earl Jones became a legendary voice in Hollywood, his father, Robert Earl Jones, was making waves in film and theater. But what history rarely mentions is his mysterious private life. Jones had a rocky relationship with the son, but a fascinating career of his own. He appeared in classics like The Sting, 1973, and Lying Lips, 1939. Unlike many black actors of his era, he managed to carve out a space for himself in mainstream films. But there were aspects of his personal life that Hollywood never talked about. While he had relationships with women and married multiple times, some in his inner circle suggested he may have had relationships with men as well. Like many actors of his era, he kept his personal life hidden, avoiding public scrutiny in an industry that had no tolerance for anything outside the norm. Despite this, he lived a long and successful life, with his acting legacy continuing through his son, James Earl Jones. Hollywood may have tried to erase parts of his story, but his contributions to film remain undeniable. Robert Earl Jones was a boxer before he became an actor, and even trained with the legendary Joe Louis. Number 10. Eartha Kitt. She purred her way into history as Catwoman, but Eartha Kitt's personal life was just as fascinating as her on-screen persona. Hollywood celebrated her exotic charm, but her deepest secrets were kept far from the public eye. Kitt was a force of nature, a singer, dancer, actress, and activist. She starred in films like St. Louis Blues, 1958, and gained global fame for her seductive and unmistakable voice. But behind her sultry image, she had a complicated and deeply private love life. While Kitt's relationships with powerful men, like Orson Welles and Charles Robeson, were well documented, there were also whispers about her romantic connections with women. Close friends hinted at deep, intimate relationships that Hollywood never acknowledged. She was known for her defiant independence, refusing to let anyone control her, including the industry that profited from her image. Her outspoken nature often put her at odds with Hollywood's elite. After criticizing the Vietnam War during a White House luncheon, she was blacklisted from the U.S. for nearly a decade. Despite this, she rebuilt her career and remained an icon of strength and reinvention. Eartha Kitt spoke 4 languages fluently and even recorded songs in different languages, proving that she was more than just a Hollywood beauty. Number 9. Dorothy Dandridge. She was the first black woman nominated for a Best Actress Oscar, but Hollywood broke her heart and nearly erased her legacy. Dorothy Dandridge's love life was as tragic as it was legendary. Dandridge rose to fame with Carmen Jones, 1954, a film that proved she was more than just a pretty face. But despite her success, Hollywood refused to let her be a leading lady, limiting her career opportunities due to race. Her romantic life was filled with scandal. She was linked to powerful men, including director Otto Preminger, but Hollywood gossip also suggested she had an affair with the legendary Marlene Dietrich. These rumors were never confirmed, but insiders claimed their connection was more than just professional. Dandridge's personal life was marked by tragedy. She faced financial struggles, battled depression, and died under mysterious circumstances at just 42 years old. Hollywood never gave her the role she deserved, but her influence on future black actresses, well, it remains undeniable. Dandridge was originally cast in Porgy and Bess, but dropped out due to Hollywood's racist stereotyping, a bold move for her time. Number 8. Isabel Sanford. Before she became the legendary Wheezy Jefferson, Isabel Sanford had a career in Golden Age Hollywood that few remember today. But what Hollywood never wanted you to know was the truth about her personal life. Sanford started in films like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, 1967, before finding fame on television. But in her early Hollywood years, she was overshadowed by the industry's refusal to give black actresses meaningful roles. What many don't realize is that Sanford was far more private than her outspoken on-screen persona. While publicly married to a man, insiders whispered that Sanford had a long-term relationship with women. Some close friends suggested she had a secret romance with another well-known actress, but given the era, she never spoke about it. Like many black actresses, she kept her personal life hidden to protect her career. Despite the limitations Hollywood placed on her, Sanford became the first black woman to win an Emmy for Best Actress in a Comedy. Her sharp wit, strong personality, and commanding presence made her a star, on her terms. Isabel Sanford ran away from home to become an actress, defying her conservative family's wishes and carving out a career in Hollywood. Number 7. Ethel Waters. She was a Broadway pioneer, a jazz legend, and a Hollywood trailblazer, but what the industry covered up was the truth about her sexuality. Ethel Waters lived on her own terms, no matter what society thought. Waters started as a jazz and blues singer before transitioning to film, starring in Pinky, 1949, and Cabin in the Sky, 1943. She became one of the first black women nominated for an Academy Award, yet her biggest battles weren't just on the screen. Throughout her career, Waters was rumored to have had romantic relationships with women. She was incredibly close to her longtime companion, Ethel Williams, and though she never publicly labeled herself, their bond was undeniable. Waters was a complex figure, deeply religious, yet openly defiant of social norms. She often spoke about the challenges of being a black woman in Hollywood, refusing to conform to the roles forced upon her. However, in later years, she distanced herself from her past relationships due to pressure from conservative circles. Ethel Waters was the first black woman to star in her own television show, making history long before Hollywood was ready to accept her. Number 6, Billy Daniels. He was one of the smoothest jazz singers of his time, a Hollywood favorite, and a man with a mysterious personal life that few dared to discuss. Billy Daniels was charming, talented, and deeply private, but rumors about his relationships never went away. Daniels became a sensation with his hit song That Old Black Magic in the 1940s. His velvety voice, sharp suits, and electrifying stage presence made him a star in nightclubs, films, and television. He was one of the first black performers to host his own television show, and was beloved by audiences worldwide. But while his public life was filled with glitz and glamour, his personal life was a different story. Hollywood insiders whispered that Daniels had romantic relationships with both men and women. He was known for his close friendships with many male entertainers, leading to speculation about his private affairs. However, Daniels was careful. He never addressed the rumors. During the golden age of Hollywood, being openly bisexual could end a career overnight. Like many stars of his time, he chose silence over scandal. Even though Hollywood eventually pushed him aside, Daniels remained a beloved performer for decades. His career lasted over 50 years, proving that talent could outshine Hollywood's prejudices. Billy Daniels was one of the first black singers to perform in Las Vegas casinos, at a time when segregation still ruled. Number 5, Harry Belafonte. He was Hollywood's first black heartthrob, a civil rights icon, and a man whose private life was just as intriguing as his public one. While Harry Belafonte was known for his charm and charisma, there were whispers about a side of him that Hollywood never wanted to discuss. Belafonte skyrocketed to fame in the 1950s with Carmen Jones and his record-breaking calypso music. He became the first artist to sell over 1 million LPs, making him one of the most recognizable black entertainers in the world. But behind the scenes, his love life was the subject of endless speculation. While he was publicly involved with several high-profile women, including Joan Collins and Julie Belafonte, rumors swirled that he had relationships with men in the entertainment industry. Some sources claim that Belafonte had deep connections with certain male colleagues, but kept those relationships hidden due to the social and political climate of the time. Belafonte was a passionate activist, working alongside Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. His willingness to speak out against racism made him a Hollywood outsider, and some believe that his activism, along with his rumored personal life, led to him being blacklisted in certain circles. Harry Belafonte was almost cast as James Bond. Before Sean Connery took the role, producers considered making Belafonte the first black 007. Number 4, Lena Horne. She was Hollywood's first black glamour icon, a breathtaking beauty with a voice that could melt hearts. But behind her dazzling smile, Lena Horne kept secrets that Hollywood refused to acknowledge. Horne became a superstar in the 1940s with films like Stormy Weather, 1943, and Cabin in the Sky, 1943. She was the first black woman to sign a long-term studio contract, but even then, she was often cast in minor roles or cut from films in the South. She was too beautiful, too talented, and too powerful. Hollywood didn't know what to do with her. But what many don't know is that Horne's love life was just as complicated. While publicly linked to famous men like Lenny Hayton and Orson Welles, rumors circulated about her relationships with women, especially other actresses. Some reports suggest that she had a deep romantic bond with Ava Gardner, a close friend who was one of Hollywood's biggest sex symbols. Horne never confirmed nor denied these rumors, but in a time when Hollywood demanded that women fit into a mold, she refused to conform. She became a civil rights activist, spoke out against segregation, and left Hollywood on her own terms. Lena Horne was blacklisted by Hollywood for fighting against racism, losing roles simply because she refused to play stereotypes. Number 3, Mums Mabley. She made audiences laugh, but her personal life was no joke. Mums Mabley was one of the first openly lesbian comedians in show business, but Hollywood, it tried to bury the truth about her. Mabley became a comedy icon in the 1920s, performing in the famous Chitlin Circuit before breaking into film and television. She shattered barriers, becoming one of the highest-paid black female entertainers of her time. But unlike many on this list, Mabley never hid her sexuality. She openly had relationships with women, often dressing in men's clothes off stage. She made subtle jokes about her attraction to women in her stand-up comedy, but mainstream audiences rarely caught on. Hollywood didn't know what to do with her. She was an outspoken, openly queer black woman, a combination that made her a target for exclusion. Despite this, she thrived, appearing on The Ed Sullivan Show and even at Carnegie Hall. Mabley refused to play by Hollywood's rules. She didn't conform to beauty standards, she didn't pretend to be straight, and she didn't let racism stop her success. While others lived in fear of exposure, she owned her truth. Mums Mabley performed at the Apollo Theater when she was just 14 years old, proving her talent from an early age. Number 2, Josephine Baker. She was a spy, a superstar, and a scandalous enigma. Josephine Baker didn't just break barriers, she destroyed them with her talent, activism, and unconventional love life. But Hollywood tried to erase one of the most intriguing parts of her story. Baker rose to fame in the 1920s as an exotic dancer in Paris, where she became one of the biggest black celebrities in the world. While America refused to accept her, France welcomed her with open arms. She starred in films like Zuzu, 1934, and Princess Tam Tam, 1935, all while spying for the French resistance during World War II. But what Hollywood never wanted people to know was that Baker was openly bisexual. She had high-profile relationships with both men and women, including artists, socialites, and even Frida Kahlo. She never hid her sexuality in France, where she had more freedom, but in America, the studios kept this part of her life out of the headlines. Baker was more than an entertainer. She was a fierce civil rights activist. She refused to perform for segregated audiences, marched with Martin Luther King Jr., and even adopted 12 children from different races to prove unity was possible. Josephine Baker was the first black woman to star in a major motion picture, long before Hollywood gave black actresses serious roles. Number 1, Billie Holiday. She had a voice like no other, a life filled with tragedy, and a hidden side that history almost erased. Billie Holiday's songs told stories of pain and resilience, but few knew about the secret relationships she kept off stage. Holiday became a jazz legend, recording hits like Strange Fruit, a song that exposed the horrors of racism. She was bold, fearless, and constantly at war with the authorities, especially when the FBI targeted her for drug use. But her love life was just as controversial as her music. Holiday had tumultuous relationships with men, but behind closed doors, she was also linked to several women. The most famous was actress Tallulah Bankhead, a wild Hollywood socialite who shared Holiday's love for nightlife and rebellion. Their relationship was rumored to be intense, passionate, and filled with drama. However, when Holiday was arrested on drug charges, Bankhead refused to publicly defend her, leaving Holiday devastated. Despite her battles with addiction and police harassment, Holiday's impact on music and culture remains unmatched. She was one of the first black women to perform at Carnegie Hall, and her music still influences artists today. Billie Holiday was banned from singing in New York nightclubs after the government targeted her for activism, yet she never stopped fighting. If you loved this deep dive into Hollywood's hidden secrets, you'll want to check out our next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss more shocking stories from Hollywood's golden past.